As I've been organizing my office the last week, I printed out a lot of these, which is the mini stacker that I designed to have a storage space for all of my models that I use for miniature wargaming. The new problem is that it's taking too long to print the quantity of these that I need. They each take 3 hours to print, which isn't all that long, but I've needed dozens of them to store all my models. So what I want to do is create a better space for my 3D printer in the basement where I have it set up currently, so that in the future, if I decide to, I can add more of them and increase that production capacity. Right now, there's not a whole lot of extra space for activities down here as I have most of the basement dedicated for storage. However, I did pick up a new shelving rack and I'd like to put it on this wall behind me where I have this smaller one sitting currently. In order to do that though, I need to clear the space around it and then actually assemble it, put it together. I'm going to put plywood down on the actual shelves to support the weight of the 3D printers because they can get a little heavy, especially if you've got multiple on one shelf. And I picked up some extra goodies and plenty of filament in order to facilitate the actual printing process. The first thing I need to do is clear out this space so that I can make room for the shelving. I have a big box of filament and other materials for the 3D printer here, as well as some food storage and some glass jars that just need to go. In addition to this shelf that I was using to grow microgreens on a couple years ago. At some point, maybe I'll pick that hobby back up, but for right now, it just needs to get out of the way, and I will probably move it to the other side of the basement here shortly. So this box of dirt, I'm just gonna throw into a spot by my garden to use next year outside. Now these shelves are used and they have been in storage for a bit, so I need to wipe them off. They've got cobwebs all over them. So I know I need to have a good amount of space between the shelves where I'm actually going to put the 3D printer. I'll go ahead and measure that now, but I think I need a little space on the bottom for some plans that I have later. So on the shelf where the printers will sit, the wire mesh isn't going to be strong enough to hold them up, so I'm going to get some plywood cut down so that they actually have a nice stable base to sit on. Much better. Now that the workbench is set up that the 3D printers will sit on, I have a new toy that I'm excited to unbox. So this is what's called a UPS, or uninterruptible power system. So me being me, I had an issue last week where my power went out for about 30 seconds or so, and that was enough time to give me a print failure on my 3D printer, which ended up costing me about $1 worth of filament because I wasn't able to resume it afterwards. So I spent, over $100 on this UPS in order to ensure that I never have that issue again. So while it's not exactly great ROI, it is definitely good peace of mind to make sure that if I do get power skips, which tends to happen quite a lot where I live, at least I'll be able to rely on this to power it for a good, 8 to 12 minutes, depending on the load. And that would just allow it to continue to print even while the power shorts out for a short period of time. The only issue would be if something happens for longer, and hopefully by then, I could address it with a backup battery or something like that in order to solve it. We'll get up close for the film peel. Hard to hate that. This one in particular is a 900 watt output unit. So I could technically run a couple of 3D printers on here at max load if I wanted to. However, I will likely end up just using this for this one. And I only have one 3D printer for now anyway. So as I go to scale, we can see the draw, and I will have some more statistics because this unit actually has a control panel that you can hook up with over the internet. And so I can actually see and monitor the draw from the printer and ensure that, it's at a safe range for the unit. And there we go. Everything's looking good. Excellent. So now that I have the 3D printer in place, I want to put all of the filament and supplementary materials below it so that I can easily access it and load it into the printers. I have probably 20 or 30 rolls of filament right now, so a decent amount, not a ton, but the problem is some of them are in these boxes still from Bamboo Lab, and some of them are just out on the spools because I've been using them. I don't really want to take the ones that are in their vacuum sealed bags out because if they're exposed to moisture, that can be bad for the filament. So ideally I would want to dry those out if I was going to use them beforehand. If I just leave them in the vacuum sealed bags, I don't have to worry about that as much. So I'm going to continue to leave the ones in the cardboard that are vacuum sealed just so I know that they are fresh rolls. And then the actual other rolls that I have that are already being used, I'm going to put those on a stacking solution on a different shelf so that way I know which ones I have in reserve and which ones I can use right now that are ready to go. I'm not thrilled with this system, but it will work for now. I tried to organize them by shininess and then hardness. So I have the basic and silk on the left, and then the matte, then leading into the PETG and the PA6 glass filled on the right. So hopefully I've got, some sort of organization going, and I really don't have too many filaments to where I can't, read the labels or anything like that. So this should work fine for now. And then over time, I will figure out a better long-term solution for this. Now that my new printer is set up, I need to print some accessories to store all of the goodies that come with it, as well as do things like catch the filament that comes out the back, which until now I've just been using a cardboard box. So I'm going to print some accessories, and then we can put those together and finalize the build. It's a new day, as you can see by my shirt change, and I've had this printer running pretty consistently over the last couple of days, printing out some accessories to help organize my space. So I've gotten a lot of these build plates stacking up recently, and I thought it would be nice to have a place to store them so that I can change them out, because a lot of them have different textures on them and they serve different purposes. So I printed out this, which is essentially a plate holder that sits underneath the AMS. And so it has some screws in here, as well as these essentially like spring-loaded pieces. And whenever you push them, it will shoot the plate out the front. The other thing I printed was a toolbox for all of the P1S components. So I have a bunch of different hot ends and Allen keys and little bits and bobs that are sitting out on my workbench, and now I have a dedicated place for them and I can store it next to the printer. I have noticed that while this is running, it is getting quite a lot of wobble from the actual shelving unit itself. I don't think the plywood is flexing very much under the weight of the printer, but there's not enough weight on the shelf to actually help absorb some of that movement as the print head is moving back and forth really rapidly. It hasn't affected the print quality, surprisingly. There's quite a lot of engineering in these machines to help cancel out those vibrations, but it does kind of worry me, so I do want to weigh this down a little bit. So I think I'm going to take some of the stuff that I have in here and put it on this bottom shelf for now, just until I get more stuff down there like filament and things to help weigh that down, and hopefully that'll reduce out a lot of the vibrations. And here's the tool holder with everything in it. So as you can see, I've still got some of the stuff in the baggies just for organization, and I've got plenty of room for extra stuff, so it's looking good. Quick film peel on my new smooth PEI plate. Oh yeah. I'm really impressed with this. You get these really tactile buttons that when you press in, it shoves the plate out so that it's really easy to grab it. And then when you push it back in, the button re-extends. So it makes it really easy to get your plates out and keep them organized. And I've got my tacky cool plate and my smooth plates at the bottom and my textured plates at the top. So it keeps it nice and organized. Overall, I'm super pleased with how this project turned out for the time that I put into it. I have an awesome space now that is readily expandable and will be ready for when I decide to get another 3D printer. Not to mention, I think that this looks really clean and it will make me excited to get down here and actually do some more printing. So really happy with how this turned out. But with that, that's all I have for today. So thanks so much for joining. I'll catch you in the next one. See ya.